they actually give us two of the factors. They say x plus 2 is a factor and x minus 4 is a factor. And we want to verify that those two are indeed factors. And the way we're going to do it is use synthetic division. So in this box, we have a -2. In this box, we have a 4, because remember, we changed the sign when going from a factor to the box. Notice we have our coefficients 8, -14, -71, -10, and 24. We've got our line drawn, and we drop the first coefficient below the line. Now, -2 times 8 is a -16, and when I combine those, I get a -30. -2 times -30 is 60, and when I combine that with a -71, I get a -11. -2 times -11 is a 22, and when I combine that with the 10, that gives me a 12. -2 times the 12 gives me a -24, and when I combine that with the +24, I get a remainder of 0. So this is how we prove that x plus 2 is a factor. Let's do the synthetic division for x minus 4. So we're going to divide by 4. Notice that they have us going back to the original problem. We will drop the 8 below the line. 4 times 8 is 32. That goes above the line. And combine that with the 14, we get an 18. 4 times 18 is 72. And when we combine that with a -71, we get a 1. 4 times 1 is 4, and we put that above the line. When we combine that with a -10, we get a -6. 4 times -6 is a -24, and when we combine that with the +24, we get 0 again. So we've just proven that x plus 2 and x minus 4 are factors of that polynomial. Now they want us to find the remaining factors. Well, to find the remaining factors, there's going to be 2 of them, because 4th power means we're going to have 4 factors or 4 zeros. Here are 2, and so there's 2 left to find. But I say get a piece of paper, and instead of doing these 2 synthetic divisions using the original problem, do the first one with the original, but do your second synthetic division off of that first one so you can get it down to a quadratic. So where do I have some room here? We'll just come up here. So let's look at the -2. I had an 8, -14, -71. All right, and the synthetic division looked like this. I'm just going to copy what I have there. Okay, so that's the result of the division by -2. Let's, from that result, do our second division with the 4 so we can get it down to a quadratic and find the last 2 factors. So let me, I didn't want to do that. Okay, we'll just leave that like it is. Okay, so 8 times 4 is, that was a +4. Okay, so 8 times 4 is a 32. So that gives me a 62. Something's not right. Aha, I missed a sign. See right here, -14, -16. That was a -30. That's a little bit better. Oh, I don't know if it's going to let me, so I'm going to have to do this. All right, that should be a -30. That should be a 32, and that comes up to be a 2. Now my numbers seem more reasonable. 4 times 2 is an 8. Subtract 11 from that, and I get a -3. And 4 times -3 is a -12. Ta-da! Another remainder of 0. But what's nice about doing it this way is I've got it down to a quadratic, that I can either use the quadratic formula or I could factor it. I'm going to go ahead and play around with maybe factoring. To get an 8, I'm going to go with a 4x and a 2x. And to get a 3, I'm going to go with a 1 and a 3, but I'm going to do the 3 here and the 1 here, because that's a 6x, and that's a 4x, and if the 6x is positive and the 4x is negative, I will have a positive 2. So I'll make that positive and that negative. Always check your work. That's a negative. That's a positive 6x, negative 4x. Okay, so that checks. So when they ask me to find the remaining factors, I have them right here. 4x plus 3, 2x minus 1. And notice they ask us to have a comma-separated list, and we do not put them in parentheses. So notice it's just a 4x plus 3 is one factor, comma 2x minus 1 is the other factor. Now it asks us to use that result to write the complete factorization of f of x. This is when we do put in the parentheses. So if I'm just listing the factors, notice they asked me for a comma separated list, so I'm just going to list those two guys separated by a comma. But if I'm going to write the complete factorization, that means I have to write all factors multiplied together, so I have to have those parentheses. So notice we have the x minus 4. We also have the x plus 2. Okay, we're writing the factorization, so we need to have those set up in parentheses because that means we are multiplying. 4x plus 3 and the 2x minus 1. This is the complete factorization. Now, from those factors, I can get all the zeros. How do I do that? I set each factor to 0. X minus 4 equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0, and so on. Setting each factor to 0 will allow me to find the zeros. So there's 4, there's negative 2, there's a negative 3/4, and there is a 1/2. Now we want to enter the answers as a comma separated list. So we want to list these all out separated by commas. The order's not that important, just so you get them all down there. Finally, put it in your calculator, check to see what the graph looks like, and it appears that this is the graph you would get on your calculator. And something that will help you in this multiple choice format is take a look at the window they're using, and you might need to set your calculator up using those windows to try and get a decent picture of your polynomial. Okay, so to prove that they're factors, we're just going to show that the synthetic division for each of these is 0. But to find the remaining factors, we're going to redo the synthetic division where we do repeated synthetic divisions, one off of the previous result. And our goal in doing that is to get it down to this quadratic. Because when I'm down to a quadratic, I can either factor or use the quadratic formula. That allows me to find the remaining factors. So my remaining factors were these. Read the directions carefully. Enter your answer as a comma-separated list. So I need a comma between those, and I don't need any of those. I don't need any parentheses. Now, if they ask me to write the factorization, then I do need my parentheses. X minus 4 times x plus 2 times 4x plus 3 times 2x minus 1. If I have to list the zeros, comma separated list, so set each factor to 0 and then list those separated by a comma. I hope this is helpful, and I'm sure you will let me know if you have any questions.